Yeah, no, you can see your You're good. You're good. All right. So here we go. So everyone out there listening today, we have Annie Hartigan here with us. Annie, thank you so much for being here.
Megan, thank you so much for having me. You've been one of my closest friends for like forever. And, I wanted to get on your little podcast and be a part of what you've been creating the past couple months. So,
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I appreciate you coming on and telling your story. So, Annie, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about you? Who is Annie?
so Annie, um, it's funny. I've always kind of, when in regards to like my music career and stuff, I've always been a singer and doing choir and school plays and all that kind of fun stuff. I kind of developed into more of myself throughout the past couple of years because I had a completely different life like 7 years ago, and I kind of just completely transformed on like who I am as a person, and just completely changed my life around basically, from where I started. You honestly wouldn't recognize me if you knew me before, way before you even met me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So start from the beginning. So, all right. So even like, was this further than 7 years ago, or like started when you like met your ex-husband, I guess?
So I was like 18 years old when I met him. I was still in high school. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I was older. My goal was actually to be in the FBI. So I was studying criminal justice up in Portland. And then I started dating him, and we just, I moved my entire life down to South Carolina to be with him. I ended up getting pregnant with Lance. And my life went from focusing on what I wanted to do as an adult to, okay, here you are, you're a mom now, and you got to take care of a child. And
How
he was
old
in
were
the
you, Annie, when you got pregnant and married?
I was 19 years old.
So you got
So
married then pregnant, or other way
I
around, or?
I got pregnant with Lance, and then I got married like shortly after.
Okay.
Um, so I kind of had one of those military weddings. It wasn't really a wedding. You're kind of just in a courthouse kind of ordeal.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and then I had Lance at 20 years old, and I just, was mom life all the time.
Yeah. So everything changed when you had Lance.
Everything changed. Everything
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah. So, getting married so young, did you always see yourself doing that, or was that like a totally out of your plan?
Honestly, it wasn't really something that I had planned out. It just kind of happened, and I just rolled with it.
Mm.
I was a nanny growing up. I have a bunch of siblings, so I was like, okay, I got this. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, but it definitely, wasn't my plan, especially, having a family and being with somebody who was constantly gone. Being in the military, it is really tough.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Yeah.
wasn't really prepared for that at all, being a young mom, kind of doing it by myself. And luckily I had my parents when, my ex-husband, when he would deploy. So like I came home and my parents helped me out a lot, which was great. But
Yeah.
I just, I wasn't expecting, that to happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So you became a mom, and you were kind of a single mom to begin with because your husband was deployed. But so what happened? Because I mean, now you aren't married any longer and you are an actual single mom.
yeah.
So what changed? What happened?
So honestly, I mean, I've always felt like I've always kind of, you know, I guess people would say been the man in a relationship. I kind of just did everything. And my ex-husband wasn't ready for, commitment, marriage. There was a lot of cheating. He was very abusive, mentally, emotionally abusive, verbally. Um, it just, I had a lot of like weight on my shoulders at the time.
Mm.
And I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I couldn't handle, the emotional abuse and the physical abuse he was putting me through and the cheating. And eventually, I finally left that situation.
Mm.
Um, I didn't think that I could do it on my own. Um, when you're with somebody who's abusive, they kind of like rewire your brain to think that you can't do it
Yeah.
on your own at all.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of where I was.
How old were you when you decided to, get out of the relationship?
I was 22 years old.
Okay, so
Um,
Lance was two.
so Lance was two. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get out of it, I guess? So with an abusive husband and, just being in a weird situation, not near your family, like, did you have help or what kind of got you out of that?
I had, a great circle of friends that I would talk to, but honestly, I joined a bunch of private Facebook groups for
Mhm.
people that were being abused. And I would just kind of like read through, their postings and things that were going on in their life. And that kind of prompted me to start speaking out about my story publicly
Mm,
because forever, like, I didn't tell anybody what was going on.
yeah.
Um, I remember, like, this sounds so sad. But I remember, being at the grocery store and seeing, husbands and wives together, and they were like so happy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was, well, this is like not my reality.
Right. Right.
So like always putting on like a fake smile and being like
Yeah.
everything's okay.
Yeah.
Um, and that was something that was, really tough to realize that the fantasy that I wanted wasn't my reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, by, blogging and talking about my personal experience and actually, helping other people that were in similar situations,
Yeah.
um, I've helped hundreds, thousands of women all over the country and outside, like in the UK as well,
Yeah.
um, since
Yeah.
I lost my, abuser, my ex-husband.
Yeah.
And by helping them like leave their situation helped me heal.
Yeah.
um and it's crazy like how that works, but that was
Yeah.
the big indicator for me that you're on the right path, just keep going, keep pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's something to say about like the isolation of it, right? I mean, I've never been in an abusive relationship, but you're young. You probably didn't know any different, right? It's like probably one of your first longer term relationships, obviously your first marriage.
Right.
And then not telling anybody to begin with, like that really isolates you within that pain. So I can see how even just talking out loud and letting that burden fall off your shoulders, it would be freeing.
It is honestly like so freeing. It's honestly so freeing. Actually, an album that I'm working on right now, which I can't say what the title is, but it's basically having to do with being free and
Yeah.
basically life up like from the ashes of like where you once were.
Yeah.
Um, I, I think back to those times of, when I was like deep, deep in it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think about how I did not think that there was going to be a way out at
Yeah.
all. And I was quite constantly like questioning myself because, when you're with somebody who's abusive, they're very manipulative. And, when things are good, they put on rose colored glasses and they're like, hey, like, I'm a great guy. Like, I'm a great person. And you're the one that's crazy.
Yeah.
So as you like constantly questioning your sanity in those situations. Um, so
What was your
yeah.
breaking point? Like, was it Lance? Like, what kind of pulled you to go do that to get out?
I found myself crying more than I was laughing. I was more upset, more questioning everything about myself as a person. And I was just completely losing myself. And, when I moved back home, and I was still married at this point, um, all my girlfriends were like, hey, like, what's going on with you? Like,
Mm,
this is not you. And I slowly, crawled out of that tunnel. I kind of just found my light again of like, okay, this is who I am as a person. And let's find Annie again because this Annie is not Annie.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. I remember when I met you, we were on the playground and our kids are the same age. So, like, they're both in the little swings at the beach playground in York, Maine. And you were such a light, Annie. Like, and you were so young. And you came right out and said to me, oh, yeah, I'm divorced. And this is my son. Like, just like was so open and free. And I like admired that about you immediately. Cause I'm like, oh, like, you're like 20 years old. How are you divorced? But like, no judgment. But I was just like, wow, okay, cool. I mean, nice to meet you, And then our
yeah.
kids became friends and ended up being in the same class and whatever. But I feel like you were open about your situation from the get go. And I think that really gave you such an advantage to overcome these adversities like very quickly.
Yes. Yeah. Being so open that I am, I feel like it's also kind of again, like helped myself heal, like even publicly speaking about it, because forever I could easily, write on paper or type something
Mm.
up about, how I was feeling or blogging. But, actually talking about it is a whole different ball game, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you use, to kind of help you heal and help Lance, heal? Because obviously that was probably an adjustment for him too, leaving his dad and moving back here. So like, did you have to do therapy, or was it just kind of talking to your family and friends, or what did you do to help you get through it?
So Lance was so young at the time that he doesn't even really remember us being together.
Yeah.
At all, which I'm actually really grateful for, in the sense of, he didn't see the fights, he didn't see the
Yeah.
arguments, um, he didn't see his dad treating his mom like crap. So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that. I want to say it was about like a year I went to PTSD therapy.
Mm.
And I really just kind of had those inner things addressed, through therapy, of like, hey, like you have some trauma and like let's work through it and things like that. But honestly, like my family and my friends have been my number one support system through this entire thing.
Yeah.
And as you know, like it's been a long journey of different things that would happen like every
Right.
year.
Right.
Um, but I'm so much more, confident in myself as a person and just who I am, that I feel like nothing can break me at this point.
Yeah.
So,
So once you got out of the relationship, I know you said like the past 7 years you've been kind of like transforming yourself. Like what were some of the things that you wanted to focus on? Like did you get back to like your dreams? Did your dreams change? Or like what was your main focus in like really recovering from this relationship?
so honestly, when this was before I even got divorced, um, I kind of just one night I just started singing, and I always kind of, sang growing up and everything.
Mm.
I started writing a song, and I never put it out there because it was never finished, but I basically wrote a song about, my ex-husband being unfaithful and all the abuse that he was putting me through. And I just kind of wrote it down on paper, and I was like, I think I'm going to record this.
Mm.
So when we were still, down in South Carolina, I recorded it and I didn't share it with anybody. It never went anywhere.
Mm.
And that was kind of like my you know, first sign of like, all right, Annie, like you got to get out of this situation because this is just not good.
Yeah.
I knew deep down, like I knew I deserved better.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like you love somebody that like hurts you and you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Um, And, it's a very typical thing in abusive relationships, where you can still like love somebody even though they hurt you. So you crave like the good parts of them,
Yeah.
even, they're giving you like the worst side all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was the first like indicator for me, is when I wrote that song, and I just kind of was like, hey, I think that I want to start chasing after the dreams I had when I was a little girl,
Yeah.
and I want to see what happens. And it's just been absolutely mind-blowing, is like the best words that I could even describe it, because it just kind of like happened. Um, and I've just been so grateful for all the opportunities that I've gotten, and, having my music out there, like even saying, oh yeah, I just have like a song on Apple Music. Like that's crazy to me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I feel like the universe was definitely like, all right, Annie, like you deserve a break. Like, you've gone through enough. Like, I think that this is your time to shine.
Yeah, that's awesome. So once you ended up moving back to Maine, like with your family, what opened up, like what opportunities opened up for you? Like how long did it take you to kind of get into that music industry and get a record deal and whatnot?
Oh gosh. So the first year of me being divorced, I kind of just threw myself out there and was like, hey, posting cover songs and things like that. I wasn't expecting to even like perform anywhere. I got with this company called Nine Ways Entertainment, and it's based out of New England. And they put me on a couple shows with Black Rob and Callie Ranks, which are like old school, like Bad Boy Records and Def Jam.
Okay.
Def and I did a couple, I opened for them, and I didn't have any of my own music out. It was like cover songs. And I
Yeah.
even did that Cup song from that movie. I can't remember what it is, but it's a Cup song.
Okay.
Up around and you sing. So I did that. And then I just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of like happened where all of a sudden, I got contacted by different people and they're like, hey, I want you on a song.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I got signed to a record label and I was just like, wow,
Yeah. Yeah. And
you
it's
know?
just kind of increased from there. Like when you started singing again, where you're like, all right, this is it. This is like my passion. Did you feel like that when you got into it?
Yes, singing has always been my passion. It's been one of those things that were so easy to me to do. But in the beginning, I was so nervous. Like, performing in front of people, I'd get so nervous. I don't feel nervous anymore, but
Yeah.
um, I was so ready. It was such a focus of mine, a happy focus during the time of my healing process that I just focused on that, and it honestly just helped me like tremendously.
Yeah.
Music is such a healer in so many ways for so many
Totally.
different people and different reasons, and for me that was really um, you know the changer for me. So
Yeah. So what's changed for you as a mom? So now you're a single mom. I mean,
mhm.
I know Lance's dad is still involved, right? But
Yeah,
you're a single mom. So what has changed the most for you, as a single mom?
honestly, what's changed the most for me is I don't feel guilty being a single mom.
Mm.
Forever I felt so ashamed being a single mom and thinking that, I couldn't do it. And granted, like I had, family and friends that helped me along the way, but
Mm.
just the whole mental part of it of like, okay, you're a single mom, because a lot of
Mm.
people look down on single moms still.
Yeah.
Like the whole movement of like, you're a single mom and they can do it and all this kind of stuff. And for me, that was something that weighed on me forever, thinking that I wouldn't be able to do it at all.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of just focused on, being with Lance and doing our little vacations that we go to all
Yeah.
the time, and really spending time with him and being like, hey, like I got this. Like I
Yeah.
don't need a partner to be with me to be a mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I don't feel that Lance feels, left out or anything. Like, obviously he still has his dad, but I think he sees me as like a superhero,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that just makes me feel so good.
That's great. So, what would you say to the single moms out there to kind of let go of that shame in being a single mom? Or like what would be the first thing that you would say to single moms out there?
I would say that, you got this, you can do it. I know it's going to be really scary in the beginning and you're going to question absolutely everything under the sun. I
Yeah.
mean, hey, I felt guilty giving my child chicken nuggets for dinner sometimes,
Yeah.
instead of, a home cooked meal, just because I was so busy running around, doing everything else. I think that just because you're a single parent doesn't mean that you can't do it.
Yeah.
Um, it's going to be challenging, but it's very, very rewarding, because at the end of the day, your kid's going to look at you and be like, wow, like that's my mom or that's my dad. So
Yeah. Yeah. Now, asking for help, is that something that you do often? Like, is that something you really lean on your friends and family for?
yeah, I ask for help if I need it. My parents have been great where, when I'm working, they'll be watching Lance and all that kind of stuff. I really pride myself in the responsibilities I do have, though. And I feel great, and confident in myself, being like, hey, like I got this far. Because I mean, when I was married, I couldn't even go to the grocery store by myself. I had to ask permission for certain things. I wasn't working, I was a stay at home mom. If
Yeah.
I wanted to buy like a shampoo at the store, I would have to ask my ex husband, is this okay to buy? So
Oh,
I'm glad
wow.
my own money, and doing things my way. And it makes me feel very confident as a woman, not, yet alone a mother.
Right. So having your independence is really important. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So,
Absolutely.
where do you see your career and everything going? And, will you stay in Maine or will you move or what are you thinking?
Honestly, I have no idea. I've had people tell me I need to go to Atlanta and LA, and I'm just kind of going with the flow. I'm very grateful where I am right now,
Yeah.
and I'm very content in a lot of ways. I'm very happy for all the opportunities that are coming, but I'm like, hey, like, not to say I want, my career to end, but I'm like, hey, I'm comfortable right now. Like I'm okay. you
Yeah.
know. I think that I never would have thought I would ever get this far.
Yeah.
Um, my career at all. So it's kind of just been like, again, mind blowing of how far I have gotten.
Yeah.
And that's just good enough for me, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's only up from here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So anybody out there listening today, which I know I have even people, some of my clients, are going through divorces right now and abuse coming out of like abusive, controlling relationships. Like, what would be
Yeah.
your advice to them, Annie?
Honestly, I would tell them that, when you wake up every morning, tell yourself, like, I'm good, I'm okay. I deserve better. This is not the life that I want to see myself in.
Mm,
You got to honestly kind of be delusional with it. Even if you think that, you're the problem, or you think that you deserve the kind of life that you're in, you got to keep telling yourself, no, I deserve better. Like, I got this and everything's going to be okay. And I would honestly recommend, reading stories online, Googling, people's stories that they've posted about their personal experience going through a domestic violence situation or
yeah.
an abusive relationship. Because for me, like, that was the biggest indicator of like what I was in. Was it okay?
Right.
And it's so easy to listen to friends and family be like, hey, you should just leave. You should leave.
Yeah.
But it's so much harder than that. It takes someone, 1 to 7 times to like finally leave. Where for me, it was a couple, maybe a little bit more than 7.
Okay.
So I would just recommend you just, surround yourself with people that understand your situation and not people that kind of disregard it or just
Mhm.
tell you should just leave.
Yeah.
Because that's just, easier said than done.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know?
So going forward, I mean, so you've been, single for a while now. I mean, out of your marriage. So when you date now, do you have like a higher standard? Like, I mean, what do you go, like, how do you start dating again? I guess is my question after going through something like that.
For years, I kind of avoided the whole dating
Mm.
situation. And then I kind of, sorry, they're doing construction at the house. I don't know if you can hear it or
That's
not.
okay. No.
um, for years, I kind of avoided the whole dating and I just focused on being a mom and focusing on my music career. And I kind of was scared to get back into the dating scene.
Yeah.
And I wanted a relationship, a healthy relationship so bad. And I just feel like it just wasn't happening for me. So I just continued to focus on Lance and focus on my careers. And honestly, like, this past year has just been so mind boggling for me with the people that have come into my life and the dates that I have gone on that were healthy and that were,
Mm.
I was, treated very well. Like, these flowers came from somebody.
Yeah.
you know. So it's just, yeah, I just feel that, this year and like this version of myself is just such a good and healthy one. And all of, my past traumas have healed so immensely. And it's just so refreshing once you're finally out of it.
Yeah. So just take your time, like, and wait till you can attract the right people. Is that like how you feel? Okay.
Absolutely. Like, don't really
Yeah.
go for it. Just kind of let it come to you. And I know it's so frustrating when you're single, especially being a single mom, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm waiting forever. Like, why can't somebody just like come and swoop me away? And I think that when it's meant to be and when the timing is right, it will happen. Because I mean, if somebody
Mhm.
walked into my life, they could have been Prince Charming and it's perfect in all the ways. But if they came in during the period of my life where I was healing, I wouldn't have been ready for a relationship,
Yeah.
even healthy.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah.
just it wouldn't have been good for me. I needed to focus on myself and healing all the traumas that I had. So
Yeah. I mean, that
yeah,
makes so much sense. Like, you have to understand you and find you again in order to really be open to something, that's good for you.
yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's awesome. So I know, Annie, that you're like a huge like body advocate for women. So can you talk to me a little bit about that? So I feel like this transformation that you're going through, it's so amazing. And you're just like, I'm going to do what makes me feel good. So how does this bring in body image for women?
Oh gosh, so years ago, well, prior to 2020, my body changed after having a kid.
Yeah.
I had extreme stress in my life, given, all the things that I was going through with my ex, that my cortisol levels like shot through the roof. And I ended up getting diagnosed with PCOS.
Yeah.
So I ended up gaining a bunch of weight and, I was still very active, but I kind of, it's funny. When I was smaller, I was very hard on myself all the time and always
Mm.
questioning, my self-worth and like, oh, do I look good today? And like all these things, going back through photos, how we do
Mhm.
that. And we're
Yeah.
like, "I looked so good back then." But in reality, like, we looked great then. But at the time, we thought we
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
So I just kind of focused on like okay, like I'm a good person and like these are all my, attributes or whatnot. And I felt more confident like being curvier than I was when I was smaller. So I kind of
Yeah.
wanted to throw that out there because social media, magazines, TV, it can all be so hard on women, especially, and
Yeah.
younger girls, thinking that they have to look a certain way and all this stuff. So that's why I'm so confident and open with my stretch marks, my cellulite, and all this stuff that I've kind of gained through the years. And I really want to promote like the body positivity because
Yeah.
we all need to, feel good about ourselves. The world is harsh enough.
It is. It's so harsh. Yeah, I love all of that. So Annie, where can we find you? Like where can we find your music? Where can we find you on social media?
So I'm on Facebook as Annie Hartigan. Instagram is Annie Hartigan. I'm on Apple Music, Amazon Prime, Google Play, Spotify, Pandora, and I'll be releasing more music soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you Google my name, you should be able to see like music and some of the articles I've written for different parenting companies and stuff like that. I
Okay.
kind of, years ago, I was almost like, I don't think I'm going to use my actual name. And then it just kind of happened. And then it was already out there. And I'm like, well, it's already out there. So now I'm just going to keep it out there.
Well, that's easy to find though, at least. Now you're most active probably on social media, right? Like on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes,
if anyone wants to reach out to you, are you open to that?
absolutely. Yes. Facebook, I check more often because,
Okay.
Instagram, so many different files that people can send messages in. And sometimes I
Yes.
don't see them all. But yes, I'm verified on Instagram. So it's easier for people to like look me up
Yeah.
on there. But yeah.
Okay. I was just saying, just if any women want to reach out to you, have any
Yeah.
questions about relationships and whatnot.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Help.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience today?
Um, not really. I mean, I guess I have a lot of things in the works right now.
Yeah.
I was planning on changing a law for a couple of the states around me in
Okay.
regards to domestic violence.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like a secret project right now. I'm working on it with a couple different survivors that are local to me.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so I'm hoping that, all goes well. It's definitely going to be a process. There's lots of paperwork, but I'm hoping that something gets done. So
Good. That's so cool. And you do have a new album coming out also, right?
yes, I'm probably going to be released songs before the album drops,
Okay.
but it's definitely a work in progress. But
Okay.
yes.
When do you think the album will be released?
Oh gosh. I'm hoping next year.
Okay.
But I don't know the exact. I want to make sure everything is like perfect and
Yeah.
all the things kind of relate to my life and like what I went through and basically to like help other people heal that have been in similar situations. So I'm really excited for it and there's just like lots planned. So
Okay. So cool. And I think you said you were starting a podcast too, right?
yes, I am.
I'm glad I remembered that.
Yes.
So what is it called and when is that going to be live?
I don't have a title yet. There's a couple titles in the works. I'm hoping within this summer that it drops.
Yeah.
And I'm basically just going to be talking about various different subjects, the dating world, which is, very interesting.
Yeah. So dating as a single mom type of stuff.
Dating as a single mom, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, I will definitely put that in the description to stay tuned, right? Stay tuned for Annie's podcast.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, Annie. And I will link all of your details below so people can find you. And I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Megan.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.